Hey guys, welcome back to AFK Journey. In today's video, I want to do an updated video looking at the priority for exclusive equipment, breakpoints for certain characters. Now, there is no one set and forget rule, so I'm going to do my best to explain each character as I go through them. Now, if you want to look at absolutely every character, Pridewind have done a fantastic guide over here, which also goes through all the basics, like how many essence it takes to get from which one to which one. And over here, they do go through a bunch of the characters, some priorities, and then some different breakpoints for early. The white is like minimum unlock, then the blue is like the next level you could go to, and then we've got red, which is like higher investment for that character. They do a great job of going into every character. I just wanted to do it in a visual format, going through my thoughts around the two main ones are going to be the just unlock and the all the way ones, which are going to be very versatile for players, especially free to play, managing resources, because everyone else you can kind of get an idea of where their key unlock is, whether it be at plus 5, 10 or 15, but some characters don't require that big unlock that they have in their abilities, so that's why I want to visually go through it here and have a chat about each character as we do it. Now, the first one we're going to do is the all the way category. I'll fill that in first because I think this one's very important. Now, for a lot of free-to-play players, I think the first character that you take all the way is going to be Lily May. She's the character that once you get her to Supreme Plus, you take her to plus 20, you take her all the way, essentially. You're going to go to that plus 15, plus 20, plus 25 once you get enough resources because she is your main damage dealer. She is a fantastic one. Just note, if we come back in a year or so, you may feel like you wasted that because Lily May is no longer meta. Power creep will always be a thing in these games, so eventually the main DPS carry will get replaced along the way, but at the moment as it stands, she is like the number one free-to-play all-the-way character. Now, the other two that I would put into this category is if you built a Scarlita. Now, once again, you do need Supreme Plus to go all the way on their exclusive equipments, but Scarlita is another fantastic one. Her use in PvP and AFK stages is insane, and we'll wait and see if she does get some more viability in this season's worth of bossing, but in general, for PvP, she is an absolute boss, and you want to invest there. And the other one would be Taylene. Taylene is basically just a really good all-rounder unit that is just versatile in all modes of the game, and she is another one that if you, once again, it's that whole Celestial Hyper, like even if you built like a DNL, if you, whichever cell hyper, if you get them to Supreme Plus, you can fairly safely go heavy investment into them, especially if they're a damage focused unit. So that is my all the way tier. Now the plus 15 tier is going to go down here, and that one's going to be Freyasto. Now, Freyasto, like I just said with Cell Hypers, you can take them all the way, but I think Freyasto is a perfectly safe one just to leave at plus 15. He is amazing in pretty much every category of the game. He's not performing crazy in bosses at the moment, but once it comes to Endless Mode, that is where he starts to shine. So I think Freyasto, if you have built him, he is a very safe option. Next up, we'll go into the plus 10 category. Now, the plus 10s are characters that we'll go through them one at a time and we'll have a chat. Now, the first one is Odie. Now, Odie, obviously, you can take him further if you want. He can be a prime damage dealer. But 10, for me, to get his PvP utility is where he needs to get. Obviously, if you're using him for bossing in pre-endless, he's going to be fantastic the more investment you put into him. But having him start with that extra energy for AFK stages and for PvP, if you want to use him anywhere of those locations as a free-to-play player, he's going to need that plus 10. I've had mine. I've been waiting for resources on my test server. I finally got him to plus 10 and now I can use him. He just felt really useless before plus 10. He was still good in bosses because it's just damage, but you know, to get his usage in AFK stages and beyond, plus 10 is where you really need him because it gives him that initial starting energy, which lets him ult super fast. Now the next one is going to be Iron. Now Iron, unlike Odie, he works perfectly fine at just unlocking his exclusive equipment. However, the extension, because Iron's just such a really just generally usable unit, especially in AFK stages, he's getting sort of, everything's trying to power creep him in PvP, but for free to play, he still holds a great spot there. Plus 10 for him gives him the longer mobilization, which allows your team longer to get into position and stuff like that. It's not a must have. Once again, you can test him at just unlocking. He still works perfectly well there, but if you want to go that next level, plus 10 is where I personally like to get Iron. Now, the next one is Shakir. Now, Shakir is one of those units that I think his usage will fluctuate depending on what the meta units are. We saw towards the tail end of last season, he got into a lot of comps where we were using him and also Mikola to buff a Lily May and stuff like that. And if we get into those more of these units being meta that are close range combat, that's when Shakir starts to excel. But he only excels in that position being at +10 because that is where he passes on his buff to his allies. It's at his +10 that he unlocks it. So Shakir, basically for me, in my usage, trash tier anything below +10. +10, then he gives his team support. And that is the way I view Shakir. So he kind of needs +10 to be functional. The last one I'm going to put into the +10 category is going to be Rainier. Now, Rainier gets his damage amplification for the boss at just unlocking. But to me, if you're going to get him to Mythic Plus, and get the investment to do that, you may as well take him to +10 as a pretty safe option because he's going to be using so many bosses, and the fact that he can then at +10 add damage mitigation to the ally that he swaps is going to be a fantastic thing. So that is why I put him there. And once again, any of these units you can take up beyond that. The only one, actually, to be fair, the only one I'd really take beyond that is Odie. These ones are more getting to the 10 for their supportive factors. So Odie, once again, you can take him up. When we look at some of these +5s, I'm going to just mention on +5s, if you like the investment, and Pridewind do a really good write-up, and you'll see a lot of +8s over here in Pridewind. It's because from +5 to +8 is the cheap upgrades on Temporal, so you can actually do it for a lot cheaper and still get the stat increases. So keep that in mind. You can, anything on +5, maybe can go to +10 and beyond, but they can also creep up to +8 just for some stats if you want to. So the first one's going to be Thorin for me. Once again, you can take Thorin further than this, but this is where he unlocks his ability to gain his extra life by sacrificing HP of his linked ally. This is what you want, especially, I mean, if nothing else for Croker, it's fantastic, but there's a lot of situations which a free-to-play player can make use of this. In PvP as well, Thorin is just still a really dominant force, so I would definitely go ahead and get him at minimum to +5. Next, we have Carolina. Now, Carolina is one of those ones, once again, you can take her beyond for her. She doesn't really get used in PvP anymore. She still does get sometimes used in AFK stages. I think +5 is perfectly fine. This allows her to gain access to more snowball hitting. If you do take her beyond that at 10 and 15, she gets more magic defense reduction, I believe it is. But honestly, +5, if you do build her, is perfectly safe on that one. The next one is Arden. Now, Arden +5, because it widens the range of his attack so that he can basically almost root the whole battlefield. There will be a time where one enemy sneaks out of it and doesn't get in the in range. But in general, I think Arden, just super safe to go to +5 for that increased range. However, it does extend his root duration when you get into +10 and +15. But once again, when you look at these other units that require it and the scarceness of especially our Temporal Essence, I think +5 is a fine place to leave Arden. But once again, if you start getting more serious about him, you can take him further, get those longer durations on CCs. Next up, we have Damien. Very similar. He gets his ability to heal. His heal is insane. You need +5 for that heal. I feel like Damien is just completely... I wouldn't even use him until I get him to +5 exclusive equipment. That's how I feel about Damien, because that heal is so clutch. Now, if you go beyond that, +10, +15, he does give the extra haste, but in general, the heal is the great unlock. Once again, we're looking more at focusing on free-to-play and resource management here. Wales, you guys can go deeper on some of these things. The next one is Elsa. Now, Elsa is one I wouldn't go too deep into. She's performing really well in this season, and that's why I put her in here. Like I've shown you guys, like I left a lot of units out that you can still do different investment into. I'm just trying to cover the key units, and the reason I put Elsa in this one is because she's performing super well this season. We've also got an artifact that really works well with her, so that is why she is getting a Guernsey in here, and the +5 basically means her ult costs 400 instead of 500 energy, so it makes her able to ult faster, which is very important. Now, if we get into the endless mode of the bosses and Elsa starts performing well, then we can look to increasing her to +10, +15, but at the moment, I think +5 is great. If you are using her for bossing at the moment, maybe you can take her to +8 to get that extra damage out of her, but in general, that is a pretty safe place to leave her. Next up, we have Huan. Huan basically gets herself the extra starting energy at +5. This is fantastic for basically anywhere you want to use Huan. So that's why I put her there. +5 safe investment for her. The next two we have are Corrin and Merrily. Now, Corrin and Merrily, if you're building them now and you haven't got them built, I wouldn't invest into their exclusive equipments until we see how they perform in endless mode of this season. They're kind of getting power crept already, and that's why these guys, they unlock their core, their extra core attribute at +5. But if they turn out to be good bossing units, and that's what they do, kind of like with also, if they turn out to be the bossing units, then you bring them up. But Lily May sort of just stole the thunder, so Lily May's kind of doing everything. So I do think in endless mode, even these two may only find like 1 or 2 bosses where they're really meta, and that's why I'd probably just avoid upgrading them for now. Most other players have probably already got them upgraded anyway, so they are where they are. But for newer players who haven't built these two yet, like I'm doing on my test server, I'm just not even going to invest into their exclusive equipment until we get to endless mode in the season and see where those two are at. Now, I think you can pretty much assume that the rest of these guys are going into the just unlock category. Now, I want to go through and explain them. Smokey is definitely one where you can definitely invest more into Smokey. It's going to give him more damage and the extra stun capacity on the damage that he deals with it. But honestly, just getting the base damage unlocked for this is fantastic with Smokey for free to play. If you're starved on resources, then you can look to upgrade him further. Almost really only needs to unlock. He gets the control effect. The common synergy you're going to be doing this with is with Iron. Iron does his group at the start, and then Almus's exclusive equipment is going to root them. That is pretty much good enough. Almus is one of those characters I'm happy just to unlock his exclusive equipment, and then job done. I'm pretty much done from there. Same with Coco. Coco, you can go further. She is always going to be a fantastic unit for AFK stage pushing and for bossing. So you can go further, but she does function perfectly well at just unlocking her ability. Same goes with Tamesia. The reason I put Tamesia in here because she does see some niche usage in a few different spots in the game, and because we have such low options on the wish list for light bearers, I put her. I should have probably put Vala in here. Vala's similar. You can just unlock, and then it depends how much you use Vala in PvP on whether you actually invest into Vala, and she is pretty much the same. Just unlock it. That's pretty much good enough. Mikola is the next one. Now, Mikola is one of those characters I've said all along that you can use her before she gets her exclusive equipment, and she works incredibly well, and just unlocking her exclusive equipment will be enough. You can definitely invest into her more. She is a heavy meta unit at the moment in bossing, so higher investment is going to be good into her, but it's not like game breaking and must have, so just unlocking it is going to be enough. And the last one I put is Cecilia, because a lot of new players get Cecilia and they go, oh, Cecilia's my first carry, should I do it? No, just unlock it. Don't go any further investment into Cecilia because you really don't need to go that deep into her. So that is a basic look at the priorities. Like I said, the two main categories to look at are the all the way and the just unlock. These are the characters that have like a difference of just going to their key breakpoint to unlock. And then keep in mind with these guys, anyone that becomes a DPS in bossing, you can always pump them up higher. And anything in +5 that you're using for damage, you can also take them to +8 for a little bit of efficiency. But that is the basic one we're looking at. Like I said, some things are different. Like, you know, Arden, if you take him to +10, you know, he gets the extension on his CC duration. You know, it depends on your situation and what you want to do. But that is my basic summary of the core characters that are worth investing in. Everything else is a little bit more niche. There might be a couple more stable ones that I missed that you guys think, you idiot Vulcan. But I feel like in general, you can look at a character's exclusive equipment and see where they unlock the key attribute. For instance, like Florabelle, if you're using Florabelle, she would be +10 because she gets that really good buff onto her onto the summon at +10. But once again, I think these are the core units that we're looking at. And once again, I will leave a link to this from Pridewin in the description if you have some other characters that you want to look at. And once again, you can come over here and see what their recommendations are for characters and find out the basics along costs and stuff like that. But anyway, I think that's long enough for this video. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.